So a group of American AI experts just got back from China, and to put it mildly, they are spooked. In their own words, they're freaking out. And it's not because of some new super chip or a wild new algorithm. Nope, it's about something way more fundamental, something we pretty much all take for granted, and it might just be the one thing that decides who wins the entire AI race. Okay, let's get into it.
This is the quote that's been making the rounds. I mean, it's blunt, it's unfiltered, and it's from people who just saw the front lines of AI development up close, and they are terrified. This doesn't sound like friendly competition, right? This sounds like they're ringing a massive alarm bell.
So, what did they actually witness over there? What on earth could make these seasoned tech investors and engineers, people who live and breathe this stuff, come back with a warning that dire? Well, the answer isn't in some futuristic lab. It's hidden in plain sight, in the wires, the transformers, and the power plants.
It turns out the secret weapon, China's ace in the hole, is electricity. A truly mind-boggling amount of it. You see, while the US has been laser-focused on designing chips and writing software, China has been quietly building an energy empire that's big enough to power an AI revolution all by itself.
David Fishman, an expert who's dedicated his career to China's energy grid, puts it in these perfect baseball terms. China isn't just playing the same game as us. They're playing for home runs, for grand slams. Meanwhile, the US is just trying to get on base. They're built for dominance, while we're struggling to keep up.
And here's where you really see the gap. Just look at these numbers. China has an 80 to 100% reserve margin on their electrical grid. That means they have almost double the electricity they actually need at any given time. It's like driving around with a full spare gas tank in the trunk. The US, we're running on a 15% margin. We're basically driving on E, just praying we don't hit a steep hill.
And it's not just about making the power, it's about moving it. China has 34 of these ultra-high voltage transmission lines. Think of them like superhighways for electricity. They can move enormous amounts of power over thousands of miles with almost no energy loss. So they can build a massive solar farm in the middle of nowhere and zip that power directly to their coastal tech hubs.
And how many of these game-changing power superhighways do we have in the United States? Zero. A big fat zero. Not a single one. It means we have a really hard time moving surplus power from, say, windy Texas to power-hungry California. That's the kind of infrastructure gap we're talking about.
And just to really wrap your head around the scale here, listen to this. Every single year, the new electricity China adds to its grid is more than the entire amount of power that an industrial powerhouse like Germany uses in a whole year. They are adding a Germany-sized chunk of power every single year.
Okay, so why does all this power and all this infrastructure matter so much? Because modern AI, well, it has an absolutely unquenchable thirst for electricity. And the amount of power we're talking about is just staggering.
Think about this. Just to train the GPT-4 model one time took as much electricity as 5,000 American homes use in an entire year. And remember, that model's already a few years old. The new ones coming out, they're only getting bigger and a whole lot hungrier.
This next part honestly sounds like it's from a comedy sketch, but I promise you, it's real. Meta had to literally engineer a piece of code called the PyTorch no power plant blowup command. Why? Because when they were training their AI models, the power surges were so massive they were at risk of physically destroying local power plants. It's wild.
And this whole problem is about to go into overdrive. Right now, data centers globally use about 88 gigawatts. But by 2030, and this is driven almost entirely by AI, that demand is projected to jump to nearly 330 gigawatts. We're talking about needing to nearly quadruple our data center power in just a handful of years. So you've got this huge infrastructure gap on one hand and skyrocketing demand on the other. What's America's plan? Well, it's a classic American response. We're going to throw an absolutely insane amount of private money at the problem and hope for the best. It is a massive, high-stakes gamble.
Just look at the capital expenses planned. Microsoft is talking $80 billion, Google's $75 billion, Meta $65 billion. You add in Amazon and the others, and you're talking well over $320 billion in investment. To put that in perspective, that's getting close to the entire annual US military budget, being spent by just a handful of private companies.
And then you've got the Hail Mary pass, Project Stargate, a $500 billion plan for an AI supercomputer. This thing is supposed to be bigger than Central Park, needing enough power for almost 1 million homes. It is the ultimate bet on pure capital and raw ambition.
But of course, almost as soon as it was announced, the skepticism started pouring in.
Elon Musk, who never minces words, just flat out tweeted, "They don't actually have the money." And pretty soon, reports started coming out that the project was already struggling to raise the cash. It's a huge promise, but the execution, that's a whole other story.
So, this all brings us to the one core question. You've got China, which has spent decades methodically building out its infrastructure. And then you have America now trying to catch up in this chaotic, all-out sprint of private spending. Can money actually buy you time?
Well, here's the catch. You can have all the money in the world, but you can't just pay to speed up physics or get around bureaucracy. Right now, in the US, if you need a single critical power transformer, the wait time is over 2 years. It takes an average of 5 years just to get a new power plant connected to the grid. And building one from the ground up? That can take a decade. Venture capital looks for returns in 3 to 5 years. Our grid operates on a 10-year timeline. See the problem?
So what we're left with are two completely different systems going head-to-head. You have China's central planning, a top-down system built for 10-year horizons, where the state decides to build something and it just gets built. And on the other side, you have America's model, chaotic, market-driven, and fueled by private money that needs a fast return. It really is a race between a marathon runner and a sprinter.
And that's the ultimate question, isn't it? America is betting hundreds of billions of dollars that a tidal wave of private cash can make up for a decades-long head start in public infrastructure. China's betting that its slow, steady, long-term planning is simply unbeatable. If the AI race really is a marathon of building, can America's frantic sprint of spending actually win? The answer to that is probably going to define the rest of this century.